Will the aldermen please take their seats so we get this meeting started? Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 2022-2023 Board of Aldermen Budget Deliberations. Today is April 4th, 2022, and today we are here for the public comment portion of the aldermanic budget process. Will everyone please stand up and join me as we pledge allegiance and salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, will you please take the roll?
Alderman Archiola.
Present.
Alderman Beatty. Alderman Brewster. Alderman Casey.
Madam Secretary, Alderman Casey would like to be excused.
Alderman Gurman. Alderman Gattisio.
Here.
Alderman Harla. Alderman Marlowe.
Here.
Alderman Moffett.
Here.
Alderman Pacelli.
Here.
Alderman Parente.
Here.
Alderman Vitro. Here. Alderman Vitale. Here. Alderman Willis. Here. 10 are present.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. This is the budget meeting devoted to public comment. At this point, we will start with the education side of the budget first and then move on to the city side of the budget. Please approach the podium if you would like to speak. Remember that the time limit granted to each speaker is 3 minutes. Residents, taxpayers, and electors may address the board at this time. The board encourages speakers not to express derogatory, insensitive, or offensive statements, or to engage in personal attacks against individuals. In order to allow everyone an opportunity to speak, I'd ask that everyone please limit their comments to 3 minutes. Any speaker wishing to comment on the education side of the budget, do so at this time.
Good evening. My name is Laura Fusey. I live at 418 Anderson Avenue. I support the Milford Public Schools budget as approved by the Board of Education and the Board of Finance. According to a Milford Patch article on March 15th, the increase to the budget is tied to rising costs from everything from salaries to electricity. Salaries and benefits make up about 77% of the entire school budget. Although the Board of Aldermen can only cut a bottom line figure and not tell the Board of Education what to cut, a deep cut can harm the budget. My main concern is to avoid eliminating the school counselor positions that have recently been funded by COVID relief funds to carry out the new state requirement that all students K through 12 have access to comprehensive school counseling. The grant this year is fully funded with the plan to shift the cost of some of the positions to the Board of Ed general funds over the next 3 years, since the positions are needed long-term. In a September 25th, 21 Milford Mirror article, Milford Public Schools hired a school counselor for each of the 8 elementary schools as response to the COVID-19 pandemic heightening the need for social and emotional support in schools. The primary work of the school counselors is to develop strong relationships with the learning communities, with the students, families, and staff. A big part of their role is to develop and deliver comprehensive school counseling curriculum in all students in all classes. They are also responsible for short-term counseling by working with students on specific needs or working in a group setting. If certain students need more long-term counseling, the school counselor will make referrals. Since the beginning of 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic has been devastating. As much as we all want to leave COVID behind, we can't ignore the long-term impact it has had and continues to have on us. Families have suffered so much loss, disruption, and distress. There is so much uncertainty in the world, and I think a stable and consistent support system within each school is a worthwhile investment by our community. Long-term treatment and mental health services for children are difficult to find, and even when found, have long waiting lists. There's a gap between need and treatment. Presently, the school counselors are providing a well-needed support. At the state level, there is a bipartisan effort to address the youth mental health crisis. Hopefully, they will work together to find solutions. Presently, meeting the needs of the school community should continue without interruption. I hope that all members of this board will vote for the Milford Public Schools budget as approved by the Board of Finance. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Tessa Marquis, and my address is 84 Broad Street. I'm going to take my glasses off so I can see. I would like to address an aspect of the proposed city budget. I oppose any cuts to the education budget for two main reasons. One, an educated child is a benefit to a well-run community. And number two, an educated child becomes a healthy, educated adult, equipped to work, pay their bills, care for others, and charitably contribute in many ways to our world. Part of producing educated children is creating an environment where mental, physical, and emotional health is given the same attention as reading, writing, math, science, art, and other skills. In the midst of pandemics, active shooter drills, food and housing insecurity, and frightening daily news about wars, environmental collapse, and violence, we need more assistance than ever for children's mental and physical health initiatives. In Milford, I've heard various politicians say that they have an annual mantra: never cut funding for the police or the fire department. We must have the same attitude for funding education. As a former member of the Economic Development Commission, I just want to point out that the success of our schools is one of the factors that draws new residents to Milford and helps keep our city strong. Thank you. Agenda.
Hello, my name is Michael Brown, 84 Broad Street, Milford, Connecticut. I want to voice my support for the Board of Education budget, which was passed unanimously out of the Board of Finance. I'm specifically in support of the budget sections dealing with school counselors. The Milford Board of Education was correct in addressing the need for school counselors in this budget. Kids need a lot of support in the academic and emotional recovery areas after dealing with COVID these past 2 years. Also, Connecticut school districts must ensure all students have access to comprehensive school counseling program, which was a requirement of Public Act 1963 for certified school counselors. Additionally, Senate Bill 1, which is moving through the legislature right now, provides standards for certification and funding to school districts who decide to have additional school counselors. The bill was passed favorably out of the Education Committee, and the Representative Kennedy, who was on that committee, voted in favor of it. When passed, the law will go into effect in January 2023. Again, the Milford Board of Education was forward-thinking and anticipating this law and addressing the need for school counselors in this budget. And I hope you support the budget as a whole and specifically school counselors. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak on the Board of Education side of the budget?
Absolutely, thank you. My name's Sarah Bromley from 27 Norway Street. I haven't prepared specific comments, but I do want to to echo some of the comments I heard just now about fully supporting the Board of Ed budget, in particular the school social workers and those type of staff. In particular, I should back up and say, I am a early childhood educator for 35 years, and I haven't done that to make big bucks. You might laugh, but our community, our society, our country, our world says that we value children, but we really don't. And the evidence of that is that we don't always fully fund the programs that they need. We don't always pay their teachers and caregivers a living wage. So for 35 years, I've been able to have the luxury of working in a field I am very passionate about, because I've had this hobby subsidized by a person who makes far more money, and so that I've been able to have that luxury and that privilege to make peanuts, but to do what I love and what I feel is very, very important. In Milford, I have 2 children, and as they've gone through the school system, they've had a great experience. There have been 3 times in the last 18 years when the 2 of them have needed some support from school social workers, and I was appalled to realize how thinly spread they really are. I'm hoping that any money that is going towards supporting, building, maintaining, growing social workers, the whole school psychologists in our schools, I just really, really feel very passionate about it, because when my children needed it, they really struggled to have access to it. And I was really shocked, honestly, that one social worker for the school, or school psychologist, was spread between 3 schools, and it took so long to get my kids what they needed. And fortunately, I was able to advocate for them and get it in other ways too. So I don't mean to make light of this, but I was just thinking on the way here of an old T-shirt I had. I like to wear T-shirts that say things, and I had one. I had it in a poster. I had it in a T-shirt, and it said, "It'll be a great." You may recognize it. It'll be a great day when our schools get all the money they need, and the Air Force has to hold a bake sale to buy a bomber. I really think we need to prioritize our children and show that we do honestly value them and support them by voting through this budget with particular attention to the social workers, the school psychologists, and our children's mental health. Thanks.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on the Board of Education side of the budget?
Just have a question through you, Chairman. May I ask a question? Just a point of information.
What's your question?
Just how was this meeting noticed, the public hearing? Does anyone know?
Justin, could you answer that question, please?
Mr. Chairman, through you, our city clerk publicly notices all board and commission meetings for the city of Milford.
Okay, thank you.
And it's through state statute, through everything else.
Great,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there anyone else want to comment on the education side of the budget? Seeing none, then at this point, any speaker wishing to comment on the city side of the budget can do so at this time.
Good evening. My name is Richard Smith. I live at 59 6th Avenue. Distinguished members of the board, as you know, the heavy lifting of finalizing our 22-23 budget will soon be upon you. And I want to thank you for your dedication and sacrifice and the work it takes to go through this process. I'm here tonight in my capacity as chairman of the Milford Police Commission. And I'm joined by several other commissioners here tonight. Commissioner Burgess, Bevan, Major, and Rubinstein, and Commissioner Alberta Jago and Sharon Marone asked me to voice their support of my request to you all tonight. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone in the state of Connecticut who would not agree that Milford is fortunate enough to have perhaps the most respected chief in the state. Leaders from across Connecticut and beyond seek his guidance and knowledge. Connecticut legislators seek him out while crafting police-related legislation. Ask anyone, including the governor, and they will tell you how valuable Chief Mello's input in leadership has been. And he's also highly respected and admired by his own staff. So we have reason to be proud that Chief Mello and Deputy Chief Rogi have chosen Milford as their place to spend their careers. It's an agency that truly lives up to its vision statement, which is, our vision is to be the premier leader in law enforcement through continuous efforts to develop our staff and improve the delivery of police services to the community. Yet, it's hard to believe that our chief and deputy chief are among the lowest paid in the state of Connecticut. In a recent survey, which I will hand out to you when I'm done with my remarks, of 61 other Connecticut towns, Chief Mello is the lowest paid. The average base compensation in Connecticut for a chief is $146,800. And deputy chief about $126,000. And I have a graph to show you these numbers as well. In Milford, our chief's base is $124,000, and our deputies $110,000. Think about that. We're lucky enough to have the best leadership team in the state, and the way we choose to recognize it is by paying them less than most all towns in Connecticut. I've heard and dismissed arguments that Milford's chief is also receiving a pension. As you know, he retired. He's receiving a pension. We have a few other officers, one that worked for John Deere, retired. Some of you may be in second jobs after retirement. Should your compensation in your next job be reduced because you're drawing a pension? Of course not. That can't be a factor. The thing is, we don't pay into pension for Chief Mello. We don't pay his health care benefits. We don't have those overheads. I've heard mention of gross salary. You got to look at the gross salary at the end of the year. When people trade in or catch in vacation, those are incidentals. Those are not recurring base compensation. And often we're distracted by these numbers. I've heard, well, everybody's getting a COLA, a cost of living of 2 or 2.5%. But everybody's getting that. Even the other chiefs in the survey are getting it, so it's all relative. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to stop the shell game and recognize that we have a great leadership team here, perhaps the best in the state. And in a competitive marketplace, we do run the risk of losing it. Keep in mind that it would cost us probably $225,000 a year to replace Chief Mello. You're not going to get a chief for less than $185,000 in this market. Add on pension and health care, and you're well over $200,000. Our job as commissioners is to appoint a chief, to hire a chief. I don't want to have to do that. We don't want to have to do that. On behalf of the Milford Police Commission, help us retain the talent and leadership that we are lucky enough to have. Our request is simple, and it's certainly humble. It will not break any bank, but it will require a 2/3 majority of this board. Let's bring them to average just average for the state as a base salary. That would still be a bargain, no matter how you look at it. So I ask this board to do the right thing. In a competitive marketplace, we do not want to lose this leadership team. Thank you for your time. I'll hand you out some of the data that I have.
Would anyone else like to speak on the city side of the budget?
Good evening. Sam Burgamy, 310 Tanglewood Circle, Milford, Connecticut. I echo the comments of our chairman, and as vice chairman, we've talked about this many, many times, and we are in total compliance with each other. We agree wholeheartedly that something has to be done here. Thank you.
Bill Bevan, 23 Merlin Circle, Milford. I'd like to start off with good evening, Mr. Chairman, board, and invited guests. For the people watching on MGAP, I'd like to discuss first how the budget actually starts and where it finishes. Department heads get their own budgets, and then they bring it into the mayor, which then becomes the mayor's proposed budget after he has decided whether he would increase or decrease any of the line items. From the mayor's budget, it then goes over to the Board of Finance, and they do the same thing that the mayor did. They will review it and add or subtract from each one of the line items, then becoming the Board of Finance's proposed budget. From there, it comes to the Board of Aldermen, and this is the last stop. You will either add or subtract from the budget, and it will then become the Board of Aldermen's adopted budget. So the budget is your budget. With some of my research, I've noticed, at least in the last 6 years, this board has defunded the police department. I look at defunding as when the chief puts in his budget, and when it ends up on the floor here, it is less money than what the chief asked for. So I am looking at police department number 1005-054210, Schedule J, page 49. This is a line item for 4 new police officers. I would suggest and highly hope that you would put that back into the budget. The police department, as Mr. Smith has probably told you and you've heard before, every time we put a new class through, we're still police officers short. As you've read in the paper, the amount of crime in Milford and other towns has been escalating, and the police are doing the best they can with the people that they have, but they need more police officers. Now I'm going to go to Schedule K, page 47. This is the salaries of the police chief and the deputy chief. I think this board should look at that and give the increases that Mr. Smith has already talked about. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is John Major. I live at 33 Breckcliffe Road in Milford. It's been my honor and pleasure to be a member of the Board of Police Commissioners and have the pleasure of serving with Chairman Smith. I'm not going to reiterate all the points that he's made tonight. Certainly, Commissioner Bivens has spoken to the difficulty of policing with the budget constraints that we currently have. That being said, this department has excelled under very difficult economic circumstances. And a lot of that has to be given to Chief Mello and Deputy Chief Rogie. These are devoted individuals. Chief Mello served as an officer, rising his way through the ranks, many, many years of service. He retired, but he came back as chief. He's one of, if not the most respected chiefs of police in the whole state of Connecticut. Indeed, I would go so far as to say that his reputation is nationwide and beyond. The level of compensation that he receives is inadequate, to put it very simply. And if we want to retain talent such as his, we need to at least come up to the average. If we lose Chief Mello and Chief Deputy Rogie, or either one of them, the replacement of that individual will cost the city much, much more. We should keep the talent that we have and not sacrifice that talent, because at the end of the day, it will cost us more and the product that we have will be less. So I thank you for your consideration.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. My name is Chip Rubinstein, 38 Bayshore Drive. In addition to the honor of serving as a longtime police commissioner for our city, I am also president of the Police Commissioners Association of Connecticut. Throughout all my interactions around the state with senior command staff members, elected politicians, lobbyists, there is no one held in higher esteem than our Chief Keith Mello. He does a phenomenal job. He has served as the president of the Chiefs of Police Association, and several important legislative committees. That name just brings honor and respect. He is grooming an excellent potential replacement. But Chairman Smith did an excellent word, retention. And that's what we really need to focus on. We do not want to lose these two experienced, exceptional individuals. And part of retention is reasonable compensation. And that's a level that we need to get to show respect and the hope that we keep both of these gentlemen serving our city. Thank you.
Good evening. Susan Glennon, 99 Carlson Drive. I am not a member of the Police Commission. I am just a resident of Milford, but I am also a school board member, and I would like to echo the comments I've heard regarding Chief Mello's stature and his value to the city of Milford, and just point out that as well as having a great reputation throughout the state, the Milford Public Schools has an incredible relationship with our police department, which is, I think, a reflection of Chief Mello's support, his responsiveness to the school district's needs, and I think it's a very, very, very important partnership that I would hate to see diminished if the leadership of the police department were to change. So I do hope that you will appreciate the value of Chief Mello's leadership, the leadership of his deputy, and keep in mind that it goes well beyond just the residents of Milford and what he does for the city, but also what he does for the school system. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on the city side of the budget?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Tony Gattisio. I reside at 58 Rosebrook Road. I'm here tonight to speak to you as a board member and also a citizen of Milford. And I think we are truly grateful to have a great police department. that serves and protects our community. I would just like to make mention that through my experience on the board, we've always done our best to fund the police department in any way that we can. I'm here tonight to specifically speak to you about the 4 positions that were asked for by Chief Mello to put 4 more officers in uniform to protect the citizens of Milford. As you know, the data proves that crime is up. It's up throughout the state, which includes Milford as well. I do know that Milford does its best, but being short officers due to retention, it's a problem. So we do have spots that need to be filled immediately, and we can't fill them fast enough. So I will support the 4 positions, and I will offer an amendment at the time of the budget to put those positions in our budget. And as you know, that will require 2/3. So I'm looking for support from my colleagues. I think it's imperative. And just so everyone knows and everyone's clear that this was asked for, as Commissioner Bevan mentioned, the mayor meets with all the department heads, including the police chief. The chief asked for 4 new police officers. For whatever reason, it was not followed through. It didn't make it into the budget. So here we are tonight. It's been exposed. It's known. It's a known fact. It's a need. And I think that we should do our best to facilitate these officers, get them trained, and get them in uniform, and get them on the streets. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on the city side of the budget? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to recess until Wednesday, April 6, 2022 at 7 p.m.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're in recess until Wednesday, April 6, 2022 at 7 p.m. Thank you.